Now it's showtime.
Oh yeah, let's get it!
What is up guys, Kuba Swinsky, and in this video we're going to be talking about shoulder mobility, thoracic spine mobility, how we can improve our posture through these different types of exercises and stretches that can help us get better gains in the gym and help us feel a lot much better. So in the previous video, I demonstrated how we can improve our ankle mobility, which will help us benefit in terms of our squat, improving our squat depth, as well as getting an overall better muscular development. So the problem here we've got to address is that a lot of people work in a 9-to-5 job or a desk job. We have a thing which is called upper cross syndrome, meaning that our shoulders are anteriorly driven. So from a side profile, our shoulders tend to roll forward, which is very quite common in terms of a lot of the tasks that we do on a day-to-day basis. So with this upper cross syndrome, what happens is the pec muscles are very cramped up. So those people that are wanting to build a bigger chest muscle, they really can't, because our range of motion or our muscles are very confined and constricted, meaning that there is no room for it to grow. So meaning that the muscles at the front are cramped up, the back muscles are weaker. So I'll show you a couple of stretches as well as mobility exercises which we can contribute into our workout, which will help us get better results and better gains. So here they are. Starting with our shoulder mobility exercises. So exercise number 1, this one is called the shoulder dislocate. So I'm starting off with a resistant band, making sure the band is in tension, locking my arms out and making sure my shoulders are down in the press. So I don't want to shrug my shoulders up in this type of movement. So notice as well that I am controlling the resistant band the entire motion, going nice and slow. This will definitely feel a burn in terms of your shoulders. So this is a great way of opening up the shoulder joint, as well as getting enough blood for the exercise ahead. So there are variations in this exercise, such as using a broomstick, a wooden stick, and the difficulty of this exercise itself is much more harder if you bring your arms much more closer. So that all depends on your flexibility. Myself, I'm lacking. You can see that my right shoulder is a little bit more higher than my left, so even myself, who's considered an expert, still has a lot to work on in terms of his mobility and flexibility. So the second exercise is called a wall press. So notice my posture. I've got my shoulders pinned to the wall, my elbows as well as my back and my butt. So I'm making sure that I am laying as flat as I can and controlling the motion just like the previous exercise. So the aim of this exercise itself is to bring your arms as close together above your head as possible, and of course your mobility is determined by your flexibility. So how flexible your shoulders are will determine how far you can push your hands closer together. So for myself, it's a pretty difficult exercise. It looks pretty easy, but for me it's just, I pretty much struggle with this exercise, and it's something that I should be incorporating a little bit more in terms of my workouts. So again, nice and controlled fashion, squeezing at the bottom of the motion, which will activate my lower traps, and bringing it up as close as possible. So the variation of this exercise as well is going on the floor if you can't find a wall. Pretty hard to find, but yeah, just in case. And doing the same motion, keeping your back flat, your bum flat, and making sure your shoulders are pinned down. Going to thoracic spine mobility now. So this one, I'm making sure I'm on all my fours, and this exercise itself is called threading the needle. So my hips are just parallel in line with my knees, and I'm making sure that the opposing hand that's sliding, my palms are nice and flat. This will open up the thoracic spine, the back, which will help open up the shoulders, of course. Opening up the back will make sure that your posture is nice, upright. So this is great for shoulders as well as back, a back exercise. Perform rep range is around 10 to 15. Again, go for whatever you're feeling comfortable with. Sometimes you are enjoying the actual mobility exercise itself, so more is better, I guess. Thoracic rotation. So I'm basically keeping my arms at a 45-degree angle, hips are in line with my knees, and I'm making sure that the twisting motion, my arms and legs are planted. So this one's a pretty difficult one. You definitely feel that your thoracic is working. Definitely hear some cracking sounds performing this exercise. And I'll be performing a rep range between 10 to 15 on each side. This exercise is quite tricky as you are trying to keep your bottom hip remains in contact with the floor, so it's going to require a lot of core strength and a lot of focus in this exercise. But overall, it's a great thoracic spine opener. This next one is a step-in lizard with rotation. So this one is a 2-in-1. It's working out the hip mobility. So I'm actually driving with the driving foot. The back foot you're driving down, which will help open up with your hip. And notice that the rotation with my thoracic spine mobility, that my elbow is pointed to the ground. And I'm looking as far above, following the direction of my arm. So this will definitely open up my thoracic spine. Again, driving with my opposing foot. And again, this is going to vary from person to person, depending on your flexibility. Some people can't bring their foot as close as they can to their arm. Again, this is all going to take time to build that flexibility as well as mobility. The more you do it, the better you become. So practice makes perfect, guys. So the variation again is this lizard with rotation, just holding that position, elbow to the ground, following the path of your hand. Going for 10 to 15 reps each side. Changing foot. And notice that my leg is in line with my shoulders, so that's definitely how you're going to incorporate much more thoracic mobility. So going into shoulder stretches, this one is definitely a game changer in terms of opening up the shoulders. So if you are lacking mobility, then you definitely have to incorporate more static stretches. And again, you don't want to do static stretches before workout. So with this one itself, I'm placing my elbow parallel to the wall, driving forward with my chest, and I'm rotating outwards. Again, making sure that my elbow and hand is parallel to the wall, driving forward and then rotating. Can't emphasize it enough, but it's really important that you do breathe in static stretches, as you are allowing more oxygen to flow into the muscle, which will of course account for a greater stretch. So stretch number 2 is going to be pretty much an opposite variation to what we done before. So we want to try target the pec, the shoulder joint, which is affecting the pec minor, and squeezing our shoulder blades together, and we're trying to push our elbow away from the wall, moving up and down with that working arm. So that will definitely help open up the shoulder joint. Again, going into that shoulder joint between your pec minor, trying to push away from the wall. You can see on my hands that it's away from the wall in a nice controlled fashion, moving up and down. Time for exercises in strengthening our back. So first exercise, we are grabbing a resistant band and we are doing a variation of a band pull apart with external rotation. So we're keeping our arms straight, externally rotating, showing that our thumbs are pointing to the ceiling, and we are squeezing our shoulder blades. So another great variation to this is the cable row. With the cable row itself, we want to make sure that our shoulders are down and depressed, and we are squeezing our shoulder blades together to really help strengthen that back, getting that great mind muscle connection. Like I mentioned before, we are addressing the point of strength in the back to counter the anteriorly driven shoulders from the upper cross syndrome, or better known from our desk posture in our 9 to 5 jobs. So exercise 2 is targeting our traps. So again, we got a resistor band for this one. We're keeping the band in tension and we are raising it above our heads, externally rotating at the top of the movement. Again, nice and slow, controlled motion, keeping our shoulders down in the press, making sure we don't shrug, because we want to activate that trap to strengthen that lower back. Good variation to this one as well, using a rope on the cables and pulling it above our head. Alright guys, so there you have it. I've showed you exercise and mobility as well as some static stretches, how we can open up that shoulder joint. So again, mobility, these dynamic stretches we want to be doing before our workout, and again, choose which ones you're lacking in. So if you're lacking in different flexibilities, try the wall press. Go for 10 to 15 reps, as well as 2 sets of that, as well as the shoulder dislocates. And preferably if there is a straight bar, go for the straight bar. Or if you don't have a straight bar, go for the resistant band. And again, go for a rep range of 10 to 15, slow and controlled motion. With the static stretches, I recommend doing that after the workout once it's finished, so you can increase your flexibility. All right guys, I'm gonna wrap up the video here. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for more.